Hello, Broderick Wallace here. How you doing? Yeah, I got one of those channels where you see a guy sitting in the front compartment of his van and it looks not only cheap but dodgy. And I like that, because it makes it all about the content, doesn't it? Which is not entertainment. It's not entertainment. I'm not here to entertain you. I am here to horrify you sometimes. I am here to push a few buttons because I've noticed every time I upload a new video, a few people get triggered and disappear, and a few more take their place. Couldn't give a shit because there's no money to be made out of these subjects directly. But that's not my game, really, to be honest. We've all got to get by, though. We've all got to get by. In fact, let's turn the light out. Let's just talk in the dark. One of those ones. So, entertainment. I will have to repeat myself, but I'll make it really quick. Endless picture sharing, taking it or leaving it whenever you're in the mood. This is all bollocks. I mean, it conjures to mind as well the hideous creations of AI and using that to create pictures and write articles, and the whole thing is this is the way it's always been. It will always be, except now in the modern age, more people are able to make content, which is awesome, but it means there's more crap to sift through. Like when I was first getting into metal as a teenager, I soon realised that most heavy metal bands were just really cardboard and non-creative. They were copying each other, but not in a way whereby they could capture, the magnificence of the more popular bands, but in a way whereby, as long as they could come up with something fairly mediocre and chuck it together, it was exciting to play live, and, bless them. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just the way it is, Anything worth doing is a solid, consistent effort, weighing up all of the various properties, perfecting, honing. It's not part-time. It's exactly the same with the subject that I cover on this channel. It's not part-time, and I'm not here to entertain you. But I would like to dedicate this video to a certain customer or customers who were horrified recently by my content, cancelled me. I got 2 new jobs the next day. You will not be missed. In the same way that I take this upon myself. It's like, if I wasn't uploading this content, I wouldn't necessarily be missed. I realise that. But there's something that pertains to the long term with what I'm doing in my own amateur way that involves a consistent dedication. Not here to entertain you. I'll say it again, I'm not here to entertain you. This channel's not entertainment. You might think, you did these interviews. Yeah, I wanted to talk to these people because they're really interesting people they're not entertainment either. They're the real deal. Their stuff is difficult, it's convoluted, it requires patience, it requires time to get into, to digest. I set up the Seshen Circle Bluebell Hill Hermetic group, which is linked to the mother group Seshen. I had 200 people-ish sort of come through. Bless you, thank you, awesome. much respect. But it's only a fact here. I'm not being mean. It's only a fact that out of that many people, 3 actually did anything. 2 of them made it to the payment stage to make this long term, and the monthly fee is, not only do I pay it myself, so it's like I'm not asking you to do anything that I wouldn't do, but it's so reasonable, it's ridiculous. I got shoes on right now with holes in because I'm saving up for a new gearbox, but I can afford this monthly fee. So that should put it into perspective. So roughly 200, 3 actually do anything, 2 go through to the payment stage, only 1 remains. That's the way it goes. That's the way it is with everything. I've got 2 sayings that I'm going to keep around that I keep coming back to all the time. One of them is, be the bird that makes it. I'm not going to go into detail on that. I talked about it in a video a long way back. Be the bird that makes it. If you imagine a large flock of birds flying through the sky, some of them get picked off by predators, some of them get tired out, they're on a long journey or whatever. You can see the analogy there. It's like, be the bird that makes it. Be in it for the long haul. And the other one is, if you want to be left alone, you will be left alone. And this applies to people dipping in and out all the time, and it also applies to the way that you behave towards other people. It means that the greatest distance that you instigate in a relationship then becomes the standard by which that relationship is measured by. If you want to be left alone, you'll be left alone. What do these 2 things point to? They point to consistency. Consistency. And that has to be a consistency of quality. But life isn't all quality, is it? So, these 2 videos. Of course, I'm not silly. You could call me all kinds of things, but I'm not silly. I knew it would be disturbing, irrelevant to most of the world. Don't get me wrong, I'm not deluded, but it's not a pleasant thing to sit through, is it? Someone, if you're going through an extreme period in life, see, when you're seated in that place of extremeness, you see reality exactly for what it is, right? So it's merely calling out the facts. And the subjectivity of the facts, well, what more can any human being do? You do your best to collect data and try and be as objective as possible, but it's okay to be subjective about your own experience up to a point. From the position of a human being on the earth, the sun does revolve around the earth. It's a little bit like that, That subjective world, that subjective consciousness, that node, that place where you reside, that's where you work out from. Then we move to a conception of God. I heard some dude who's into Tai Chi online say that you need to become a Tai Chi teacher. It's the same thing in the subject that I cover on my channel. You need to become an Hermetic human being in every moment, consistently, in every moment, without fail. Life's difficult. What does that mean? It means that wherever you make a deficit, you pull back again at the next moment where you can. And why would you do all this? Because it's in the face of that subjective, uncomfortable focus on reality. You could put that beneath, and then above you could fix that idea of a conception of God, again, which is at least partially subjective, if not wholly from your point of view listening to me. But it does tally with other descriptions, you know. So, feet on the ground, head in the clouds, or the heavens, if you like. Be the bird that makes it. But if you want to be left alone, you will be left alone. So, where do you direct the mindset? Where do you direct it next? You direct it on good things. Why is that? Because it becomes your sphere of resonance. Why is that important? Well, keep up a meditation discipline every single day for a number of years, and you'll find out why it's important. It's important to acknowledge the reality of things, but it's also important to aim high, to aim for the good. It's also a form of protection, if you like. You could call it a protection ritual. So, imagine you're just starting out with all this kind of thing. You're going to get exposed to sorcery in the extreme, which there's nothing wrong with. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. And again, you can't know what you can't know. I didn't know. You know, I didn't know what was possible until I devoted time consistently and methodically towards the practices laid out in the book, which I've talked about before, which relates to the subject that I talk about on this channel. So how do you find your way in? It's through resonance, isn't it? It's about being consistent with your interest. Sooner or later you'll get noticed. If you just keep pushing it, and I'm not talking about just being noticed by people in the world in that physical sense, although that will happen. Your intense, steady output of thought begins to build and becomes an attractor. People talk about like positive thinking and all that, yeah. In reality, the effects of the untrained mind, in terms of the effects that the untrained mind can have towards positive thinking and manifestation, it's so weak, it's negligible. But every now and then, it's like if you keep rolling the dice, you know, you might, you know, every now and then the lottery comes, right? This, you can see this played out in synchronicity. Synchronicity is directly related to these practices. Synchronicity can be influenced via ritual, sorcery, yeah, which I'm into, like, and very grateful to be under the guidance of, you know, very, very skilled people in that regard. But there is something else. There is something else that it gets hinted at. Why does it only get hinted at? Why is it not just laid out directly online? Just directly. Because it's protected. And because you can't know until you've engaged. So it sounds like the ravings of a madman, you know. I saw a comment today. Someone said, how can I find the dedication to meditate twice a day, every day? You know, bless that person. I hope you find that reason, that dedication. That reason is expressed in the book, which deals with the subject talked about. consistently on this channel. It wasn't for anything that, you know, the Druids, this is just a rumour, all right? But like, if you just take this rumour as a kind of fact, this idea of Druids training the memory, you know, remembering all of their history and their, you know, sacred texts, if you like, except they weren't really texts, they were like poems or whatever. There's a practical reason why that should be done. Apparently this goes down in other cultures. India, apparently there is extreme development of the memory. Yeah. Not for no reason. You know, there's a really interesting stuff. It's because I haven't looked at this directly for a long time. I think, was it Caesar that made 2 attempts to land, and I think the first one he couldn't, and the second one it was an unsuccessful little foray, but it was, you might call it reconnaissance. And then it was Claudius and all his cronies that ended up conquering the UK. I don't think those storms, those extreme storms, I don't think it was just nature. You know, when you have a people that develop memory techniques that strongly, when there is that vibe in the air, that respect for the capacities of the Druids, you only have to put 2 and 2 together. And to explain it sounds like the ravings of a madman. This is the way a lot of this stuff goes. That's why there's so much secrecy involved. You know, and things are not as they appear. You know, why would you take me seriously? Well, you don't have to. Just a guy sitting in a van, you know, with holes in his shoes, holes in his clothing, you know, struggling to get by in life, cleaning windows all day, you know, sitting in the dark every night. Why would I allow that to carry on? To explain it would sound like the ravings of a madman. It's all about time, consistency, and recognizing the gift. And in the face of a gift, to remain silent, completely silent, unendingly silent, is a form of conceit. I'm not here to entertain you. By the way, with the podcast, I thought to myself, right, when you start something new, you kind of get a little bit carried away. It's like, this is cool, I love this, let's do this a lot. And then, like with all things, you get through that innocent phase and you kind of, you know, things level out. It's like, I'll talk to someone when I want to, because I really want to hear what they've got to say and I want to interact with that person. Because I did actually contact another guest, spent a whole day writing out questions that they'd agreed to. You know, please send me a list of questions for the interview. Yeah, I'll do the interview. Just ignored it. You know, I'm not gonna hassle this. I'm not gonna chase this person down. But I thought, I should have known. I should have trusted my instincts. Should have trusted my instincts. There you go. It's the way things go. So it's not radically important to me anymore to run a podcast. But there will be interviews and there will be discussions and. I want to mention one thing as well about this sorcery, which can be accessed via online courses and books and things, which is awesome that it's there. I'm going to talk about the trithemeous system in particular. If you have the planets to work through, start at the beginning. Start with the moon. Work your way up over a long period of time. If you have a short spell, which is invoking the headless one, read out the whole thing. Go and find the whole thing somewhere else. I believe in Gordon White's The Chaos Protocols, there's a description of the headless rite, whereby at certain times one faces north, etc. And I understand now why one would face north. Just reference the work of Mog Morgan if you're interested in why. And I just realised more and more, like, I tell you what, the biggest struggle for me is I love to go into meditation. It takes up a lot of time. And I also love to read. It takes up a lot of time. And I also like to write. It takes up a lot of time. I feel compelled to do art from time to time, but because of the situation with my eyesight, it's a little bit frustrating for me, but I do feel compelled from time to time. It's funny how things work out, I was a musician for many years until some mysterious ailment prevented me from playing guitar. It's like I was pushed further, deeper inside. And I will always be grateful, very grateful for the kindness of others in that regard as well, towards the kindness of others. Can you do this on your own? Can you do this kind of stuff on your own? If you're extremely organized and kind of secure and very young, possibly, but still an inhuman feat. Joining groups is cool because groups are there to filter towards smaller groups, because there's this massive influx of picture sharing and posing and God knows what. Eventually you can filter down into smaller groups of people whereby I wouldn't say there's loads of chit chat going on, but there are opportunities to meet up and to have conversations from time to time with someone else who knows what you've been through, that ineffable, unexplainable thing, because to lay it all out directly on the internet sounds like the ravings of a madman. But there's also a certain degree of caution involved as well. Laid it down a few times on this channel how real this practice is. It's so real. So if it's genuine, do you really think it can be approached through a kind of like a casual hobby? No. It has to be a 100% thing. Even in your dreams, especially in your dreams, to never be switched off, ever. Never pause. Why is balance and morality important, even in the face of the extremity of the reality of human life on this planet? talked about the polishing of the mirror, but there's also a form of self-protection involved as well. The Druids, if they, I assume that's true, in terms of the rumours of their extreme memory capacities, they weren't filling their heads with the endless shite of the internet, were they? See, there's something really beautiful when you look back towards the past. It's like you've got the stars above you. Why are the stars important? Why is this all important? Because all is one. Your consciousness, through the as above, so below thing, is expressed beautifully in the day and nighttime sky, the sun, the moon, the self, the subconscious, the stages that it passes through, the zodiac. It's all there. And you might think, oh, it's just all symbolic. Well, it's not. It's not. It's a really strange mystery. You can't see the stars. I mean, in England, it's so bloody misty and cloudy and rainy a lot of the time. Although the weather is being strange lately. You can't often see them anyway, but even on a clear night, it's just all light pollution. It's a shame in a way that we've exchanged sort of exposure to a kind of nourishing spiritual reality for the safety of the modern world. You're sort of living in a hut, but you eat real meat, real, natural food, and, the air is fresh, and, the night sky is alive. You are embedded within the rhythms of nature. But it's dangerous, more dangerous. There's something that I want to make an addendum to, which is I talked about in a previous video about being a real pagan. Like, all you need is to form that relationship with the gods through, basically purifying your mind of the modern day shite. I was actually wrong about something. I wouldn't, maybe wrong is maybe not the right word, more it's something that I didn't emphasize enough, something that I left out. And that is the relationship with the sky and the landscape and its natural rhythms will exacerbate that process of connection. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. You have to actually experience things before you can come back. It's like you can only know what you know, right? It's like an atheist. You get these really intelligent atheists. They're like very, learned. They've gone through university degrees and they're all prim, proper and middle class and suit and tie and, the cultured voice and all that. But they can't know what they don't know. So they sit there reasoning everything from their, from their position. And that sort of spherical radius, I can't think of the right word. You know what I mean? If I just say spherical sort of radius of perception, it can only go so far. It's almost as if like you have to have something wrong with you. Or you could say it's a gift, it's partially a curse. that there's a bleeding out of that radius of perception into something which is disturbing in its implications, if you choose to pursue it. Again, it will sound like the ravings of a madman. You know, this is what artists tap into, but quite often they don't go far enough. What do I mean they don't go far enough? Like, to be an artist 100% of the time, like I said, to be that creature of the art, to have one's mind always open, constantly reaching out beyond that normal sphere of perception. Imagine you sit down and have a conversation with one of these people, the educated materialist type. So where do you even begin? It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's so subjective. Yet it does, over a time, verify itself. That where you direct the mind, what you fill the mind with, and the discipline, the training that you impose upon the mind does affect reality. But it can always be explained away, just like synchronicity. So when you think about it, magic is the art of, directing synchronicity to a certain degree. How can you ever prove that? You can't. How can you expect to get anywhere in these areas within this subject that I talk about on this channel? How can you expect to get anywhere? How can you expect to imprint anything on the wider mind if you can't even sit still for half an hour? Could go further than that. It could say if you can't even stand perfectly still for 1 hour and control your breath. If you can't keep up a regular practice. See, that's the question, that's the thing that taps at the back of the heads of people that do. The fear of failure mixed with the joy of success. If you have a bad day, just pick it up again the next day. Someone said to me recently, a session is always a session, even if it's not the greatest, because it's like paying into a kind of bank account in a way. You just keep paying in, till eventually you can draw on large funds. So I want to do something because I'm getting more and more closer to the edge now. Before, like, I just leave this channel for a little while and then we come back with more interviews, guest chats, very sporadically, or just a focus on a particular subject, or maybe do like a little kind of slideshow of art or God knows what. I want to do something in the next video, which will be the last one for a little while, because I've got a project where I haven't got time to produce art, I haven't got time to produce a load of videos. I haven't got time to organise interviews. I haven't got... All I can do is work, do my, do my practice, and then I'm somehow or another, I'm going to have to find that time. The time that I would usually make videos or sit down, draw a picture or whatever, that time needs to be put into a project which has come up, an opportunity. So the next video, I want to provide a little gift, a little way of helping those very few on the ground, sincere people who will stumble into this strange backwater realm of the denizens of the occult, etc. This strange place that is not too popular, not too visible. Why? Because it's not as outwardly sexy, is it? But inwardly it's ecstatic. So, those days where you don't feel like it, always bear this in mind. Like, every time you come out of meditation, you always feel better. Always feel more enthusiastic, always feel more calm. I did say the only joy I ever really feel is in meditation. Maybe that was an exaggeration, but I think you know what I mean. But you see, you bring some of that joy back. And every effort towards meditation adds up somewhere. Where does it go? It doesn't just... See, the next time you fail or, you act like a moron, whatever, it doesn't just all disappear. It's still all built up. It's still built up. Where is it built up? Well, let's use that analogy of the night sky and the landscape. Imagine it's night time. The sun has gone down into the underworld. Imagine your body's actually asleep in your little hut 2,000 years ago or whatever. In some strange way, in your dreams, you're standing on the hills. You're looking up at the night sky. The moon is full and radiating its influence. You can see a portion of the zodiac, splayed out above you. Outwardly, the above and the below. Inwardly, there is a connection slowly building whereby some deeper part of the self recognizes and rewards that constant dedication. It's like, I feel shit, I feel bad, I feel awful, fuck. Oh, this, that, I'm worried about, oh God. No, just go in. Go into meditation. Go in. And that higher, ineffable intelligence reaches down as you reach up towards it. Somewhere in the middle, there is, you might say, there's a prophet. Not as in, the prophet, the person who predicts. I mean a prophet as in a storehouse, a building of evolution. And it doesn't die. Ever. So, next video, we're going to do like a resource. I want to be there with you, those few people that have made it out to the back of the store, to that strange alleyway, jumped over the wall, got on a bus, got on the back of a motorbike with some weirdo, crossed a chasm on a creaky old rope bridge, caught a train, got on an aeroplane, went to bed after all this exertion, and then somehow got pulled up into some strange mystery. I'll meet you there.